Thank you so much for joining us for this second half hour of Local 3 News at 4. I'm Latrice Curry. David Carroll will be here at 5. Well, starting off today, I am joined by Hamilton County Mayor-elect Weston Wamp. Weston, thank you so much for being here. Your first actual sit-down interview since being elected as Hamilton County Mayor. So welcome.
Thanks. It's an honor to be with you, Latrice.
Weston, we know you're going to be sworn in September the 1st, so a couple of weeks. What are your plans when it comes to those first 100 days?
Well, the challenge that we face, that we're already in the middle of, is overseeing the first full transition in county government in 28 years. I mean, as you remember, at the very beginning of 2011, Mayor Coppinger was appointed in. He had been on the county commission. Even if you go prior to that, Claude Ramsey, who was elected in 1994, was no stranger to local government. And you could even argue the first county executive in 1978, Dalton Roberts, was the favorite for the position. So this was the first really aggressive campaign that gave us a new county mayor almost in the county's history. And so we're trying to put fresh eyes across all these different departments, talking to administrators, learning what we don't know. Met with the Homeland Security team today, have an excellent transition team around me. So right off the bat, it's just to get to know all the departments. I come from outside of county government. I've never worked in government a day in my life, and we're going to bring to bear, I think, a really excellent team. And as you can imagine, our day one priorities are the same stuff that we've been talking about for 10 months. It's all about meeting young people where they're at. Tragic weekend. I was at the Jamboree that took a sad turn, at the very end of the night. It was just such a beautiful evening, but, unfortunately, we're not, and this is not just a commentary about the public school system, across county and city government, we're not serving young people and their families and parents as well as we could be. That is, these issues that lead to violent crime, hopelessness in a lot of our schools. My real passion is lifting young people up. My second graders are with me here today. Lift young people up into great
River's
careers.
over here now.
That's right. That's the most important work we could do. If we'll get some things right in our public school system as our young people transition into careers, it will affect everything from crime to our economy. And that's why I ran, and that's the work that we're going to get started doing.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's dig into those. A couple of things you talked about. You brought up education. So, one of the things you talked about a lot during your campaign was vocational education. How do we make that happen? And have you talked with Dr. Robertson about that? And what about partnering? How do you see your role as partnering with the superintendent and with the Hamilton County School Board to make these things happen so that our school systems are better and so that all of our students have access to also good, clean, safe environments?
Yeah, we do have a facilities challenge, and that's going to be a first 100-day priority. I want to work with Justin Robertson to put together a real task force to assess, what are we eminently willing to invest in and fund. You've seen, local decision makers on their way out here prioritize a stadium. That's okay. There's some supporters for a project like that. But, we're going to juxtapose that with, are we willing to bet even bigger on our young people and build schools that we're proud of that will be here 100 years from now? And part of that is, right now, we only run one true vocational school. It's at Sequoia. It's a long way from where a lot of us live, so it realistically doesn't serve the sort of southern, southeastern, or southwestern portions of the county where we are right now. And so I think we'll have an opportunity to transition some existing facilities into vocational schools. And then, as we talked about, I want to build one of the world-class high schools in the South, right close to downtown, open it up to students from across the county, really let it set the pace for schools across our county. And just right off the bat, I'm going to remain a member of the Tennessee Board of Regents, look for opportunities. I was in conversations about this morning, look at opening up more opportunities for young people in high school to begin working for pay. It's an apprenticeship program that we propose, but also dual enrollment opportunities, whether there's pay or not, dual enrollment opportunities into our local technical college and community college, so that high school students in this area, no matter what part of the county you live in, a lot of these opportunities are already open, but they're not open countywide for our young people to begin career training while they're still in high school.
And I think that is a key point. We say it all the time, Weston, we hear about access. I mean, it's great that, when we have these ideas, but the kids who need it have to be able to access these different types of schools, these programs, so that they can, continue to grow and learn. One of the things you mentioned, of course, and it was a big thing in your campaign, the Lookout Stadium.
Yeah.
This is moving pretty quickly now because Hamilton County Commission has approved their portion. City Council recently approved their portion for the Southside development and for the new Lookout Stadium. In your role as Hamilton County Mayor, people are asking, will you support this now, or will you try to slow walk it or change things? Let's just talk about that, where that stands with you when you take office.
First of all, I'd say it wasn't a big part of my campaign. My campaign's been focused on young people and education and workforce development, which leads to economic development. If you get all these important things aligned, you'll see this flourish into one of the great communities in the world. I would argue that if we continue to get distracted away from the things that really matter, from the root causes of the violence we saw over the weekend, we lost a 16-year-old Howard student. We'll never achieve, I think, the potential our community has. That's what I look at the stadium as. I look at it as a distraction. Is it the end of the world if you build a stadium? No, it's not the end of the world. But will it change anybody's life? Will it lead to better outcomes for young people? Will it serve disadvantaged communities? Of course not. I mean, this is a long-term lobbying process. All the people who stand to make a lot of money have lobbied city and county government. I grew up around politics, and I think as I reflect on the last couple of months and the just insane allegations that were made against me.
Well, I was going to say that those did come out as to why you didn't support the stadium.
Well, but the questions I've raised about the stadium are all questions that are connected directly to our policy concerns going back many years. I mean, and my concerns about a stadium being a poor public investment go back 5, 6, 7 years ago. I was allowed to write a piece that the Times Free Press ran 5 or 6 years ago. So it has nothing to do with a job that I turned down. But you got to understand that these are private businesses that are trying on the backs of taxpayers to get a free ride. What I was going to say is I don't remember any time growing up around politics, I don't remember politicians forcing through something that was so overwhelmingly unpopular. And I say that I don't know that there's another person who's traveled this county more extensively in the last 10 months than I have. And it's not in some parts of the county that people are adamantly opposed or necessarily opposed to a stadium long term. They just really thought the process came out of nowhere, was rushed through. I don't think you could look across the country and ever find a project of this magnitude. It would be the largest publicly financed project in the history of our county, and it was done in just a matter of weeks. And it's one of these times, and I think a lot of it's because you had retiring politicians, one of these rare circumstances where you'll basically just see the politicians stiff arm the public and say, we know better than you do, trust us on this. And so, listen, I've got other priorities that I think do matter more to people. I mean, I've told everybody on my team that's coming into county government with me, every morning when we wake up and go into the office, the focus is not on politics, it's not on tangential stuff, it's not on stuff we can take credit for, it's on serving people. And so I'm not going to allow the stadium to derail our projects.
So is there anything else you would like to see there if it's not a stadium then?
Well, I think it probably will be a stadium.
Yeah,
they tried to bake the cake as far as they could.
But I guess as far as the development there in that area, and when you think about the location of where it is in South Chattanooga and how it's that entryway into the city as people see, what do you then see for that area? I know you said, of course, it looks, it's going to be a stadium, but what else do you see as far as development and what it could mean for the city as far as economically?
Well, we'll see. I mean, obviously my passion is that somewhere in that downtown corridor we build a wonderful high school. I think it would have been a much more impressive symbol of our community if we'd have built a beautiful high school rather than another stadium. I mean, there's so many stories of towns or counties being taken for a ride by these guys who want a free stadium. But that's okay. I mean, again, we'll navigate it. It's going to be less revenue for the county to provide essential services. But we'll use it as an example of where we think the priorities ought not be. And if people end up enjoying the stadium, that's great. I drive past the Wheeling site every morning. I live in Lookout Valley. And I think the only thing I'd like to clarify is I understand it's not great to drive by. Also, the folks who own the land have left it in disrepair, so that, it's arguably their fault that it looks so terrible. But let's not mistake that eyesore for the real eyesore of our community. And that's that we lost a 34-year-old man last night. We lost a 16-year-old right as we began the weekend. That's the eyesore. That's the real, I think, moral challenge of our time
Crime,
in this
violence,
county.
and our young people.
Right. And it's not to say that you can't build stadiums and create entertainment districts and pursue other things. I just think if they're made priorities, inevitably our young people take a back seat. And I think I was consistent, throughout my time as a candidate. It's one of the reasons I suspect we won, is that we're going to invest in the next generation, even if there's not an immediate reward for it politically.
And as we wrap up in the little bit of time we have left, one of the things, I was looking over your transition team, and it seems like you are trying to surround yourself with a diversity of people in thought and in so many other different areas, I guess, as you transition, and to help you kind of reach out to all segments of the population. Just if you want to quickly talk about that and your transition team and how you selected those people to kind of help you relate to everyone.
Yeah, it's a wonderful team. And we've got the head of emergency medicine at Erlanger, who's an incredible Indian physician. Kelly Arnold started Clinica Medicos to come in and talk to us and help us understand the needs in public health. The county runs a large health department. We've got one of the best principals in the county. Now the governing begins. The politics is over, and so you'll see people of all backgrounds. I just want the best people. I rarely am the smartest guy in the room, but I'm a pretty quick learner. I know a lot of good people. I'm grateful that this great team has come and surrounded me, helped us transition county government, and now we start the hard work of serving kids and families and senior citizens, regardless of the neighborhood they live in or the party that they affiliate with. And that's what I'm excited about. I grew up in a public service family. I'm so sick of campaigning, ready to get to the real work.
Well, Hamilton County Mayor-elect Weston Wamp, thank you so much for joining us here live on Local 3 News at 4, and don't make it your last visit.
Thanks, Latrice.
All righty.